So let's move on, Anthony, to the Midwest region. Looking at, I think, the second or third game on the board on Thursday, a bet you have. So we went head-to-head to an extent with Louisville-Creighton, 8-9. How about the 4-13 in the Midwest region? The number 4 seeded Purdue Boilermakers taking on 13 seeded High Point. Latest odds here, at least in regards to the total for this game as I pull it up here on the fly. 153.5. It looks like it's painted across the board with Purdue being an 8.5 point favorite. This line opened 10.5. So there was a fair amount of market steam on High Point. I think it got as low as 7.5. So a little bit of buyback on Purdue. How are you looking to attack this one?
High Point is a pretty tough solve. I think we all can say usually there's one or two data points of these mid to low major teams going up against superior competition where you can really judge, okay, how good is this team really? We really don't have that for this High Point team because they haven't played anybody. I mean, their toughest game all year was North Texas, and it's not like they played a particularly tough schedule last year either. So 2 straight years where you're looking around and you're trying to figure out what is this team. In the Big South, their defensive numbers look great, but the few games they played against top 150 competition, and that's top 150, not even just, tournament-based teams, it's pretty ugly how bad they are defensively. So, I mean, when you look at their numbers, like synergy stuff on, defending in the post, defending the pick and roll, it's all really ugly. I think Purdue can kind of name their score here. And then the other end of the thing is, what is Purdue's defense at this point? I mean, we're talking about one of the worst rim defenses, not just in the field, but in the whole country, which is amazing for, how far they've fallen from the Edey days of last year. And so, I kind of think that we have seen Purdue play these mid to low majors with the exception of FDU and generally have a ton of offensive success because of their how efficient their offense is and how well they shoot the ball from perimeter, how well Smith runs the PNRs. I think they can score what they want here, and I think they'll get matched by High Point from a lot of this game. And over 153.5 is what I bet.
If we go back to the beginning of January, on January 1st to be exact, and you want to take a look back, that was not anything hyperbolic when it comes to Purdue's 2-point defense. To give you exact context here, the Boilermakers rank 363rd in 2-point defense since January 1st. I don't want to call, and this is definitely going to be a hot take, and I'm going to get called out for this, I'm sure. I don't want to call Matt Painter a Zach Edey merchant, but when it comes to NCAA tournament success, Zach Edey covered up a lot. Defensively, as you said, but think about all the calls. And I lost my fair share of money betting against Purdue in the tournament last year. But in that Elite Eight game, Tennessee against Purdue, Zach Edey bailed out the Boilermakers a bunch. Dalton Connect was flame-throwing, especially in the first half, caught fire a bit down the stretch in the second half. But going back to this handicap, I agree. Purdue is a sieve defensively, to say the least, and there are pass to offenses on both sides. So I would either look Purdue team total over here or full game over, and I'm probably more inclined to take the latter, just based off of the fact that Purdue can be had all over the court, but especially inside.
Yeah, it was stunning to me how easy it was for Michigan.
Well, they have Vlad Golden down low.
They do, but it wasn't just him, though. Like, layup lines for everybody. The guys coming off the bench were getting to the rimmies. Danny Wolf had efficient performance. I mean, I'm looking at the box score now. Yeah, 22 for 32 from inside the arc. That's amazing. I don't care who. There's still a Power 5 team, a team with a top 4 seed. I would have had Purdue on complete upset alert. I just don't really know how High Point is supposed to scale up here in this game. We have no idea what they are in games against quality opponents because they haven't had any. So I'm just kind of uncertain about High Point, but I'm going with the over here.
You go back to this game stands out to me when Purdue took on Indiana, and the Hoosiers just had, speaking of Mike Woodson, had an onslaught of offense down low. Umar Ballo had an effective field goal percentage of 75% in that game. Malik Renew, 90, 28%. And those guys are purely driven off their low post production. Maybe Renew could step out a bit and Ballo can throw up a hook shot or a little push shot in the lane from time to time. But Purdue, like I said, this is not an exaggeration, and the stats are an exemplification of that. They receive down low. Both teams have a path to offense in this game. I haven't bet it yet, but I have a strong lean to agree with you toward the over in this game. Let's move on to... Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. I pulled up the number. So top 150 opponents this year, high point 5-1. Defensive efficiency was 151st.
Yeah.
So not good.
That's the hard part about, as
Purdue,
you said,
82nd.
With mid-majors and having a team on upset alert going into Selection Sunday like Purdue. This line, and especially the market movement, indicates that maybe Purdue is worth a fade, but can High Point match up at the defensive end of the floor? The numbers don't show that. So I'm with you. If you want any piece of fading Purdue, and it maybe sounds an odd way to think about it, but you take the over rather than bet and fade against the Boilermakers on the point spread, no?
Or you take Clemson in round 2.
I'm with you there.
Which I plan to do, and actually I took a Clemson Sweet 16 ticket, so that's basically the same thing.
The one, because we're not handicapping McNeese State and Clemson, the one issue I have with that, and for full disclosure, I have Clemson going to the Sweet 16 in my bracket, but when it comes to a betting standpoint, we're still in the midst of Thursday and Friday. I'm not sure if or how I'll bet that game if it does happen. The Dylan Hunter injury for Clemson is big, especially when it comes to their perimeter defense against a guard-heavy Boilermakers offense. As you said, well, Trey Kaufman-Wrench should have a lot of success in ball screen action against High Point, and maybe not as much against Clemson, but Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith without Dylan Hunter, even though Clemson's guard play, Chase Hunter is still a good defensive guard, but they don't have the kind of ball pressure that they would without Dylan Hunter on the floor.
Yeah, it's certainly a red flag.